Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. And this, if you haven't met her yet, is Peepo. Say hello, Peepo. No, she's not going to do that. She is here to register her protest at the disgusting, revolting, appalling violin playing in this Francois Xavier Roth's new recording of Mahler's Fourth Symphony, and particularly the solo violin in the Adagio, whose downward portamento is the most revolting, disgusting, offensive, racist imitation of poor old Peepo here that you've ever heard in your life. And she was so upset, she insisted on appearing. Didn't you, dear? Yes, you did, right? In order to explain how to do it correctly. But I think she's so traumatized by the terrible sound of that atrocious violin solo in that Adagio that she just can't stand it. And look at her. Look at how upset she is. I mean, is this the picture of dejection? I mean, it's animal cruelty listening to that performance. It really is. I know you want your dinner, don't you? All right, so we'll let Peepo go, having registered her protest. And I just want everybody to know that cats the world over are up in arms over this performance. But we'll get to more of the details at this point. Here we go. Go ahead, dear. Thank you. Thank you for having the bravery, the insistence on appearing and shedding all over me, just so that you can know how dreadful the downward portamenti in that violin solo are. Oh my God, it's... I mean, that's what it sounds like. Bluch. Actually, bluch kind of describes the whole performance, doesn't it? Let's put it this way. This is the first ever version of the original form of the Fourth Symphony as a wind octet with a terrible solo violin. Essentially, all you hear are woodwind instruments. I mean, that's what this is about. It's about letting all the woodwind instruments be as woodwindy as they possibly can. Forward, front, and center, with the strings, well, sort of added later, shall we say, as a second thought or alternative option. It's ridiculous. Interpretively speaking, it's quite similar to Bruno Walter's interpretation, in that Roth attempts to be very flowing and organic and natural, with generally swift tempos. And so to that extent, it's similar to Walter, except it lacks Walter's intelligence and idiomatic feel for the music, and warmth, and humanity, and singing qualities, and structural understanding, and, well, just a few other minor things like that. But let's get into some of the details, shall we? Okay, first we have to read the bullshit paragraph on the back of the booklet. After a period instrument reading of Symphony No. 1 that received unanimous acclaim from the critics, well, I was one of those critics who wrote about No. 1, and it did not receive unanimous acclaim from me. You can read the review over at ClassicsToday.com. It was very mediocre. And not only was it a mediocre performance of No. 1, it was a mediocre performance of the non-existent provisional edition of No. 1 that never actually happened. It was one of those, Mahler did it at a concert at some point in 1893 and then revised it again. So it's not the original version and it's not the last version. It's the what Mahler was doing on the train version. It's worthless. But after that, okay, so we have the worthless Mahler 1 that received, according to this unanimous acclaim. Francois Xavier Roth and Les Siècles returned to Mahler, joined by the luminous voice of Sabine de Velhey, Sabine. Let's just call her Sabine, right? She's actually fabulous. I want to give her full credit. She should change her name to something pronounceable. D-V-I-E-L-H-E. No one should have to pronounce that, and I'm not going to try. She's marvelous. I just want to say that straight out. Best thing on the disc, hands down. Okay, for the famous finale, they offer us their vision of the Fourth Symphony, which in its own way marks the composer's transition to modernity. Huh? Okay. And reveal unsuspected colors and instrumental balances. Well, that's certainly true, isn't it? Unsuspected, maybe also inappropriate, or perhaps accidental. But yes, they do. They definitely do that. We still have much to learn about the polyphonic transparency possible within Mahler's big orchestra! Exclamation point. All right. So first, there's nothing transparent about this performance. It's just backwards. In other words, the strings are in the back, the woodwinds are in the front. It's upside down. It's inverted. Now, granted, there's all kinds of cool woodwind stuff happening that you do hear. But then for everything that you hear that may be new and revelatory, you're missing something that ought to be there, like the tune. I mean, it's case in point. Most of the soft percussion writing is inaudible. A lot of the loud writing for everybody else is inaudible. The trumpets, for example. Oh my God, they're just dreadful. I mean, the climax of the adagio is appalling. The big luminous climax when the trumpets are supposed to be blasting out, overtopping the orchestra. They don't. And they don't because of Roth, not because they can't do it. Because there's a moment where they come leaping out with a real fortissimo and you're going, oh, okay, they can do it, so they're fine. Then all of a sudden they disappear. It's ridiculous. Or, even worse, the climax of the first movement. The first climax, not the recapitulation one, the one with the big tam-tam crash. Oh, I forgot. There is no big tam-tam crash. In fact, you can't tell there's one at all. That's not there. How can you have a performance noteworthy for its transparency where a fortissimo crash on the tam-tam is inaudible? I mean, we're talking this. I mean, and this is a performance arranged as a wind octet. So with virtually no strings. And then the tune's missing. The tune's in the trumpet. The trumpet's going bum ba da 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 dum ba 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 da ba dum ba 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 da ba dum, like that, on top of everybody else, fortissimo. Nowhere. Not there. Not there at all. What the hell is going on? So with all of the jaw blah blah about polyphonic transparency, where are the principal voices? I mean, listen, anybody can do this. Anybody can tell the strings to keep it down, play with no vibrato in the adagio. Oh my God, it sounds so bad. I can't even begin to tell you. And by the way, we know that that's completely wrong. Any concept of authenticity that would leave vibrato out of the adagio goes against everything we know from the testimonial evidence of the people who played under Mahler to Mahler's colleagues, Webert and Klemperer and Walter, all of who played this symphony or recorded it, and we know what they did. So what are these people trying to do with this atrocious string tone? I mean, it's just a joke. It's horrible. But anyway, let's also, there's an interview here. An interview. It's amazing. How many violins do they have here? 1, 2.5, 3 3 3/4, 5 7/8. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 11. That's not bad. I mean, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 basses. You'd never know it because they don't play. But then there's the interview. The interview. You gotta have an interview because this is Regie Dirigent auf Deutsch. This is just demented concept conducting. So you gotta have a concept. Interview with Francois Xavier Roth. Here we go. First of all, what are the characteristics of the Fourth Symphony? Here we are. First of all, it's a unique work in Mahler's compositional trajectory, as opposed to what? The second, the sixth, the eighth, the ninth, Das Lied von der Erde? Well, okay. The first symphony, Titan, was originally a narrative symphonic poem that turned into a symphony. In the second, he projects himself into gigantic forces and structures. That's even more the case in the third, with an expansion of dimensions that was practically unprecedented for a symphony. In the fourth, he tightens his focus. Only 4 movements. Dare one say so? Exclamation point. Huh? What? It can be described as a perfect symphony, like Beethoven's Seventh or Schubert's Great C Major. From a formal point of view, it marks an unmatchable achievement. Oh, okay. Without being disturbing, it is also very unusual in its references to melodic or harmonic elements of great simplicity, almost naive, within a complex, elaborate structure. When it was first written, many people didn't understand. Why does Mahler repeat things over and over again? ? What on earth is he talking about? Yes, the symphony was a failure. So is just about everything Mahler wrote. Why these childish refrains? Mahler was furious, wondering if people would come to understand his work as what it is, pure music. This enigmatic symphony, which is unlike any other, unsettles me. And if it was that unsettling to him, he should have just left it alone. He should have taken a pill and let his unsettled whatever organs settle and not inflict his unsettledness on Mahler's Fourth Symphony. There are ideas in here, by the way, aside from playing all of the balances backwards. Some of those ideas involve slowing down when you should be speeding up, or slowing down too much before you speed up, or making strange connections between passages, or taking the second subject of the first movement, da 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 da, ya da 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 da, absolutely metronomically in tempo. So it's da 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 da, do 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 do. Okay, he does that. And then there's, let's see, at the end of the scherzo, it comes back slightly slower, with the solo, mistuned solo violin, do 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 do. He takes that really, really slow. So then he has to really speed up, do 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 do, like that. And then, of course, there's, like I said, missing percussion parts all over the place, and missing horn parts sometimes, and missing trumpet parts, and missing string parts. Missing string parts. Oh, my God. The strings do so many interesting things. They play col legno. They have lovely pizzicati in interesting places. Well, you never know it to listen to this. The one part that's wonderful is the finale because of Sabina because she's fabulous. She's just fabulous. She really is. She's absolutely great. It's wonderful actually listening to her try and remove the vibrato from her voice to have that pure, innocent tone. And at the very end of the refrains, Sankt Martha die Küchen muss sein. And the softer she gets, the little bit of vibrato creeps back in. Oh, it's so charming. It's so touching. It really is. She's just delicious. I could listen to her all day sing this finale. I really, really could. What I can't listen to is Francois Xavier Roth and Les Siècles doing their thing all over Mahler's Fourth Symphony. What is the point? It's just difference for its own sake, devoid of any kind of underlying intelligence. When you read the interview with this guy, interviews are a mistake, always. Artists should not shut up. They should let the music speak for itself. And if they have to do an interview, then something is wrong. But even more, it's a risk. It's a risk because it may reveal, as it does here, that the guy has no clue, that he's just saying things to try and sound profound. And that's what this performance is. It's doing things to try and sound profound. Does it? Hell no. Obviously not. Forget it. Go away. Go away. Go away. Go away. I've had it. It's enough already. It's ridiculous. Keep on listening to Mahler's Fourth. We've talked about dozens of wonderful ones. What the heck was that for? And apologies to Pipo. The poor thing. Hearing that violin, I've never seen a cat more offended. I mean, and you will be too. Take care.